Hi all, this is Skate, and my favourite thing about this Chinese IS-2 is this camo. Or this camo. Because aside from that, I don't think it's a heavily competitive tier 7. But let's quickly run through the garage bits and then we can start waffling on. I run my multi-purpose restoration pack, the adrenaline, and the repair kit like I do on pretty much everything. I run improved combat rations, standard combat rations, and improved fuel. Ammunition, 28 and 8 on the 100mm gun. Do not use this tank with the 122. Use the 100mm. And in terms of equipment, I am running just a rammer, and that is it. And the reason I'm running just a rammer is because I don't want to wait for the equipment times, and I don't want to waste credits or even spare parts on the tank. So every game I've played in this is with just the rammer. Now you may sit there and think, but you'd have a higher view of the tank if it was fully equipped, and you probably would have performed better in it. Yeah, but by the time I've unlocked them all, waited for the timers, I would have been done with the grind. And am I going to keep this tank? No. Are many people really going to keep this tank? I highly doubt it when you can get a premium IS-2 which is better, and the Russian IS is considerably better. Now with all that being said, I kind of enjoyed this grind, and I don't know why. Might be because the IS-2's got a bit of an underdog feel to it, I don't know. But if you're looking for a keeper, you're looking for a Russian IS, not a Chinese IS-2. Now, I run this with the 100mm gun instead of the 122mm. It has the same penetration, but it has better accuracy, better gun dispersion, better aim time, better DPM. It's better, in my opinion, in every single aspect, except for initial alpha shot, basically. But I will quite happily trade that extra bit of damage per shot to have the extra DPM, and to be able to reload that bit faster. Surprising how handy it can come in, especially when the guns look very, very similar. So a lot of people do think you're running the 122mm, and then they end up biting off more than they expected when you've reloaded in like 8 seconds. So it's got some pros going for it, and it's not a horribly horrific grind. But what frustrates me about the tank is how I would say and how I feel it is subpar to its Russian counterparts. For example, let's take the 100mm gun on this and let's compare it to, I don't know, the 100mm on the Russian IS. The Russian IS has more DPM. Why? I don't know. The gun's pretty much the same thing. Has the same gun dispersion, has the same aim time. Yet the Russian IS has 7 degrees of gun depression with the 100mm. This thing has 6. But that is not all. The Russian IS has better traverse speed, better acceleration. It's got better power to weight, basically. But then again, so does the Russian IS-2. Also, here's one that really annoys me for some reason. Armour. This thing has a whopping 90mm of frontal armour. The IS has 120mm of frontal armour. So the IS, which is virtually the same thing, has 30mm more frontal armour. But even the Russian IS-2 has 100mm of frontal armour. This thing only has 90. So to sum it up and put it short, this thing has less mobility, less DPM, and less armour than the Russian version of it. So back to my original point, why would you keep this and waste your spare parts on it when you can just pick up a Russian one instead? And the only reason, quite simply, is to get up the rest of the Chinese line. But if you're looking for a keeper, don't keep one of these, go get the Russian one instead. If you're just trying to get through this, well, hopefully the rest of my video may be of assistance in giving what I like to think are some hopefully handy tricks and tips on playing the thing. I've just finished my grind on this tank. I'm probably going to keep it to take it to 100 battles, and then as soon as I've done 100 battles, it's going to be sold from my garage forever. I've just unlocked the WZ-110, and I'm only on, I think, 78% crew at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving it. But when I'm done with that grind, which hopefully it'll only be a couple of days, I can get another video on the go for that. But this game we did 3,410 damage, got our mastery badge, and steel wall. So, in terms of playing this tank, what would I personally recommend? Well, 100mm, as I've already said, is off the bat what you need. It's much better if you have to quickly try and snap a shot off. It's more reliable in terms of hitting the target as a result of it having better gun dispersion. On top of that, the reload. It can get you out of some sticky situations. And of course, as I've already mentioned, you're looking, well, to be exact, a 7.8 second reload in comparison to a 12.63. Because they look so similar, because the Chinese 122mm knockoff gun is just bad, if you asked me, it catches people out anyway. And a key thing, I think, to making this tank work is the side armour. And just try and focus on nothing but the side armour. I mean, 90mm at the front, it's flat on the lower plate. It's 10mm less than the others, I'm not going to go over that again. You can tell it frustrates me. But a tier 7 at 90mm on the side is very good, and it can make this thing very, very bouncy, providing you can stick it in the correct situation and have it on the correct circumstance. But even when you can't and you're out in the open, I would still say try and angle up as much as you can, because your tracks and your side armour will absorb a lot more than you expect. Even when your butt's shown to someone, still try and angle up. It'll make all the difference. I may have some examples in this match as well. That not being one of them. I poked my nose out quickly because I knew I had the opportunity to. And being as I had the 100mm, I could get a shot off much, much quicker. Now, I've bounced 2 shots, I've been penetrated once while I'm side scraping up like this. I wasn't penetrating the side, I was penetrated in the hatch on top. So that's something, when you're side scraping one of these things, you do need to take into consideration. You've also got to take into consideration people trying to stop you side scraping. But yeah, don't side scrape against the KV2, won't work. That actually made me laugh a little bit, because I don't know if he was aiming for me, but the shell skimmed past me as we moved in and killed the VK behind me. But yeah, when you are trying to side scrape, if you've got a choice between side scraping on the right hand side or the left hand side of a building, try and pick the right if you can, because that means you're also hiding that weak spot on top of the turret. But then a couple of other things to consider. If you've got good penetration, or the red tank pointing at you has good penetration, there's a high likelihood he's going to get through the cheeks on your tank. So if you sit still too long and he can hit the flat part on the front, it's gonna go through. So when you are side scraping up against things with good penetration values, be cautious of that and make sure you don't sit still too long. Now I need to comment on the game pretty quickly, because I've changed where I'm trying to hold off one flank and I need to go around the other flank, because this game is going horribly wrong. With 2 tanks down, we pull one back and they pull it back, so we're 2 tanks down again. However, I have 3 tanks on one side of me and I need to try and deal with these guys quickly, so at least we've got one flank addressed. And that needs to be done quickly, because 3 medium tanks on this one side, they've just taken out another one of our tanks, so we're momentarily in a 2 versus 5. Now we're in a 2 versus 4. I'm not really too concerned about that VK at the moment. I'm going to try and get a shot onto him. However, my focus needs to be this T-34-85. He is on full hit points, and he's working the KV-1S. And this is the most important part, I think. I need to keep that KV-1S alive, because he is delaying the advance from the other 2 tanks. And you never know, it could come in handy to have a team buddy. Also, look, reverse side scraping almost, out in the open. You're baiting them by giving them the side of your tank. It looks like an easy pen, however, it can absorb a lot with 90mm at that angle. Also, bear in mind you have the tracks as well. Now, I'm staying behind this building because I can almost use that bait, that KV-1S as bait, and on top of that, I'm hidden from the VK out in the desert. And I'm not poking out in front of the KV-1S, because where I'm confident I will survive 1 HE shot from him, I won't survive 2. So part of me was hoping he'd come around and at least try and take a shot at my friendly. At least when he pokes his nose to try, I would have been in a position to defend him. And then I'm going to try and use the KV-2 retreating as my opportunity to get to the next cover and actually be of use to my team buddy. Back there, he was, sounds harsh, bait, but now I can advance the Now I can advance the KV-2, and he hit my gun. Now I was confident to survive a shot, 1 shot at least, from this guy. And I was hoping in doing so, I can then finish him off with 2 shots. Because for taking 1 big splash damage from him, which I, like I said, was confident I could survive, never expected to hit my gun though, I could have finished him off with 2 shots, but he hit my gun, did no damage to me in that shot, and my second shot was a poorly aimed shot and bounced. Also, I wasn't expecting his VK to be by here, but he does make a mistake. He pops out trying to make a break towards the KV-1 on my team, and it means we did manage to finish him off. So we're kind of back in the same situation now. I can afford one shot only to the front of my tank from the KV-2. But I don't have the gun depression to get him from where I am, and he does have the gun elevation. So we've got a bit of a stalemate here. And it's almost trying to play the waiting game to see who's going to make the mistake. In hindsight, watching the replay back myself, what I should have done is just sit in the cap, because I had time to cap. Instead, I tried to poke my nose. I did take the shot from the KV-2, and in exchange it did mean I could finish him off. But yeah, hindsight, should have capped. And also, I could have left that guy die. However, he was more use, even if he didn't do a lot of damage, alive than he was dead. That's something to consider when you're low on tanks. But yeah, that resulted in 4,706 damage in the Chinese IS-2. We made 60,000 credits. It was on a ×2, so 4,326 XP with my ×2, which was 1,442 base XP. All in all, I was pretty pleased with that game. Now, in terms of the IS-2, the short story is it's not a bad tank. However, I do feel it's subpar compared to its counterparts. Which at that point, of course, you could argue is a bad tank compared to them, which it is. But to play, it doesn't feel so horrific. If you look at it on just paper, it looks like it's going to be god-awful. And in terms of playing it, I will just try and side-scrape as much as I can. Or try and look for when a target has shot, then poke my nose out and send a shot in his direction. The key to doing that, though, is obviously making sure you look at when they shoot and knowing approximately how long their reload is. But I know this isn't the most popular of tanks, so I hope at least something in this video would be of use to someone. If anything, maybe it's just a glimmer of hope that they can get through this tank to get up the rest of the line because they're avoiding it because of the IS-2. I don't know. I know it's got a very bad rep already, though. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.